move on.
Let's move on to, I guess, another movie that is probably more interesting for the technology behind it
Mm-hmm.
than the movie itself.
Yeah.
Which is The Toll of the Sea, which is the first, like genuinely the first Technicolor film.
It is
Feature
not.
film.
It's the
Feature
second.
film. Is it?
There was one previous that did not get a wide release, and it was shot in a way that was not able to be played on most projectors.
Oh, right,
But
yeah.
there was another feature film that is now lost that
Yeah.
was a previous Technicolor feature.
And that was Technicolor, but it wasn't the same process as this. That
Right.
was, yeah. So no, you're right. I was gonna give this an honorific that you're right. It doesn't actually deserve.
It is the first starring role for Anna May Wong, who we
Yeah,
are now
that is
touching
true.
on for the first time.
Yeah,
A big silent movie star.
yeah, yeah. Huge silent movie star. And I haven't seen any of her movies up until this one. So, but this movie is directed by Chester M. Franklin, and it is a kind of loose adaptation of Madame Butterfly, but kind of set in China in the 1920s instead of Japan in whenever Madame Butterfly is set. Not the best movie, and I feel like it even when it came out, I think it existed kind of more just to kind of show off the technology than necessarily to like. I feel like its story stuff is very. It feels very I don't know, old fashioned even for this time.
Right. And like I think people at the time, like, enjoyed it well enough at the time, but I think it was seen as a gimmick for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I was reading that they kind of had a hard time scoring big actors to get on this thing because it's just like Technicolor is making this movie that's in color. Crazy,
Yeah.
Part of the reason they picked the setting and the story itself was to like justify the technology.
Mm-hmm.
This movie
Yeah.
is like technology. It's it's very Cameron. It's
Yeah.
technology first, story second. I know we were just talking about Avatar, but I don't know.
I'm hot take. I think Avatar is better than this movie,
I would agree.
and I think it integrates storytelling into the technological stuff better. But this movie is pretty significant for its use of Technicolor film.
Yeah.
It is. It's the first two-color subtractive Technicolor film.
Which it's nitty gritty, but it's like among the different types of like film, like color film processes that have been happening around now.
Yeah.
And this is one, as I was talking about earlier, that can be played on a regular projector instead of having to have like a weird two projector setup and change the alignment and everything like that.
Yeah. It doesn't need a sort of weird color wheel sort of thing that's part of the projector. It's like you can just project it like a normal film. But the process of shooting it is really weird.
Yeah. I have a book called The Dawn of Technicolor. It's a huge book all about Technicolor, and I can read a quote from someone working on the film about they were shooting two strips at the same time, so they needed an extreme amount of light, and they needed to move the film really fast through the camera, and
it was being shot on a single strip of film, but it was like getting, because of a prism in the camera, it was getting two frames.
Yes, being exposed at the same time.
Yeah.
It needed for people that know photography and filmmaking, it needed 1,200 foot candles for the interiors. So a lot of this movie, like, it's a little blown out in a way, and like there was no way around that because to get all the light that they needed to just dump light onto all of their subjects.
It's almost all exteriors also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the camera operator said, quote, "It was about 3 times as difficult to crank this big camera. If you had a long scene, your arm was so tired that many times, to keep a constant speed, I'd have my assistant help me, take hold of my hand and push it to keep the speed. By the end of the day, your arm was ready to fall off. It was just awful.
Which is like a big consideration in like movies being made at this time, that you had to keep a consistent speed while hand cranking a camera. And also it's like, yeah, you get tired cranking a big camera all day.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's some interesting things about this movie. I think one of the big ones is, unlike a lot of other movies from this time period, they actually do cast Chinese or Chinese American actors, unlike some other films that we've watched.
Yeah, Dragon Ball Evolution.
Exactly. But yeah, it's definitely like there's a lot of like broken English in the intertitles, which is not the best.
Yeah. One thing that I did kind of like, that I guess was done in Foolish Wives as well, is when people were speaking in another language, it initially showed that language on the intertitle and then faded to the English translation.
Speaking of Avatar.
Oh, do they do that in Avatar
too? They do that in Avatar too, yeah. Yeah, there's a couple interesting intertitle things. Like they kind of play with font choices, whatever, typeface. Mm-hmm. Destiny did that also, in like each of its sort of sub stories. The intertitles were in different typeface depending on where in the world it was taking place.
Yeah.
And so this, I think, when characters are supposed to be speaking Chinese, there's a sort of like a
chop suey English font.
Yeah, there's sort of a slightly I don't know how to describe it, but it's English, but it's in a sort of, the typeface is meant to look like characters more. There was a funny thing where in like the first scene, someone, one of the Chinese characters says the word "whence," and I'm like, no Chinese person has ever said "whence."
Oh, whence. W-H-E-N-C-E.
Indeed. And yeah, this movie's just very sort of tragic and melodramatic. I mean, it's intentionally
it's
very
schmaltzy. It's like there's the magazine Film Daily summed up the story as: Chinese girl, deserted by her American, gives their child to his wife and throws herself in the sea.
Yeah, pretty much. That's the gist of it.
I will say that like Anna May Wong like elevates this movie.
She is very good. Like, right at the bat, it's like, because I think there is, you definitely have to sort of in terms of trying to I guess judge silent film performances, like they're very different from acting now, right? Mm-hmm. But I think there's definitely times, and this is an example of it, where it's like, I can tell that she's very good at this specific thing.
Yeah.
Of like not being too big, and just being able to sort of like hold attention, but also just do a lot with very little in terms of her physicality and facial expression. That's like, you get everything that you're supposed to get out of the performance without any audio.
It's more of a subtle performance than a lot of stuff like around her and in a lot of other movies at this time. Yeah, but yeah, the story's like fine. Yeah. I will say that like because of her acting though, I was like getting a little emotionally involved when she was giving away her kid, you know.
Oh yeah, great in that scene.
I mean, so the Chinese setting was, getting back to the technology for a second. The Chinese setting was picked because this 2-strip Technicolor. It, normally to represent the full spectrum of color that's visible to the human eye, we need red, green, and blue, and this is just red and green Technicolor. So it gets across, realistic color fairly well, although it's this kind of like hyper real, like strange look to it. They picked China because they thought that like Chinese clothes and just imagery would work well with those two colors, red and green. A lot of people are wearing like green qipaos and there's like red roses, and a lot of it's outside in like nature or whatever. But it is called The Toll of the Sea, and the ocean is green in this movie.
Yeah. I mean, so is the sky. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's sort of a seafoam green though. It's sort of a kind of
it kind of
teal.
works. It kind of works.
Yeah.
It's like strange, but you get used to it.
Yeah, it is kind of more teal magenta than like green red. Because like everyone's skin tone is sort of some variation on red.
Yeah.
I think the reason why red and green were initially chosen for two-strip Technicolor was because they figured red works for most skin tones, and then green works for most sort of like foliage and like natural sort of environments. And yeah, it is weird looking, but it looks surprisingly good, I think.
Yeah.
For how primitive it kind of is in terms of like color film.
This was but because the process of making these prints was so expensive, it cost about 8 times as much to get a print for Toll of the Sea as another one.
A kind of interesting factoid about this movie is the original ending was lost at some point. Like there were no copies of it left. And so when this movie was getting restored in the 80s, they got an original two-strip Technicolor camera and shot new footage of crashing waves and a setting sun, which is what is at the end of the movie now.
Mm-hmm. And you know what's funny? You can tell. Like, you can tell...
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
You can tell from... you could tell just from the frame, like the placement of the camera, that it's new. With the...
It also... it's like... the footage definitely looks a little bit higher fidelity, kind of. It isn't as, like, crunchy, contrasty. It's not as scratched up. It's not as grainy.
Yeah. But yeah, that's interesting. And they don't use this a lot, but they utilize this in the intertitles that are kind of bridging the gap between the old and new footage. But painted intertitles, which we see, but these ones are in color. Like utilizing a lot of reds and greens in the paintings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. It's all right. It's a technical thing. But
it is kind of more interesting for its like technological stuff and just the fact that it's Anime Wong's first film. Like the actual like much like the sound stuff. It's like taken on its own merits. It's like